Let's get more mileage from bluesy guitar chords that you probably already know using this one cool technique. We're going to get into it coming up. Hey, John here with the Blues Guitar Institute, where we're all about helping you play the music you love. And we do that here on this channel every single Tuesday in straightforward, no frills lessons. So if you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button. What we're going to do in this video is use a concept called chord voicings to really expand the sound on the acoustic guitar. We can play the same chord, but when we play the tones in a little bit of a different order or arrangement on the fretboard, we get a new voicing. So it's definitely like a music theory sounding word, but don't let that scare you. All we're really talking about doing is taking, in our case, we're going to talk about seventh chords, dominant seventh chords. We're going to take the tones and just reorder them. All you really need for a seventh chord is a root, third, fifth, and flat seven. But if you change the order of those tones up a little bit, you get a different voicing that has its own sort of unique characteristic. Let's illustrate that by taking a look at this A7, all right? Super bluesy's got that dominant seventh sound in there, and what we're playing from low to high is the root, then we've got the fifth, then we've got another root there, that's an A, and then we've got our major third, and then finally we've got our flat seven, okay? So those are the tones that we're dealing with. But if we reorder that, yet we still use those same tones, we might end up with something like this, even in a different octave, which is really cool. You come up here and play your root, all right? Then we've got our fifth next, then we've got our flat seven, and then finally our third. So we've got all those same tones, and I'm coming at this, building it off of this A chord formula, A7 chord formula rather. This has an A7 feel, this has an A7 feel. But they're definitely different, and they're going to help you not only move around the fretboard, but do something pretty interesting in, say, a 12-bar blues when you start mixing these things in. All right, let's illustrate that by taking a look at what you encounter in bar 9 of a typical 12-bar blues in E. Bar 9 is where we go to the B7 for the first time, the 5 chord. And a lot of folks get stuck here and don't know what to do to make the B7 special. And here's an idea: we can use that chord voicing concept to our advantage, okay? So we'll start here on B7, but then we'll move to this B7. Not too big of a jump from here around the 2nd fret to basing it off of this 4th fret here. And notice real quick, A7, B7, this is a movable shape, all right? So what we can do is split that measure between this shape and this shape. We haven't left B7 at all, but we'll definitely expand the sound of this measure. Now, I'll play into this from E. Remember, if we're playing in a 12-bar blues in E, we're going to precede our 5 chord with the 1 chord. So let's do that, and you can really see and hear how this B7, changing the voicing up to this one, moves this thing along a little bit. All right, now you could keep this idea going and even move from A7 to different A7 voicings. In fact, we're going to get to that when we look at an example played over 12 bars in just a few minutes. But for right now, let's take a look at what we did over B7. We started with this, perhaps a very familiar B7 chord shape, and we used the 4th string as kind of a little connector to slide up to the 4th fret and get into this shape, okay? You'll find these cool little connectors and pathways that help move you from one voicing to the other as you get deeper and deeper into this idea. But for now, I want you to know that you can just pretty well play through the chord, and changing the voicing really adds something a little bit extra to the measure. Okay, so now what we're going to do is cover a 12-bar example, just to show you how this kind of breathes some fresh air into a cool blues progression. We'll do some voicing changes over E, E7 here, so you'll see me move from here to here. And then also, we'll really start changing things up over the A chord, the A7. We'll use this voicing, we'll use this one, which is super useful, and then this one, which we've already talked about, okay? Plus a couple of other surprises in there. But let's give it a listen. Here we go. All right, I want to leave you with that example and encourage you to use chord voicings to move around the neck. So take an E and then figure out where else you can play that E and how you can get from one spot to the other. And you can come back to this video and use that 12-bar example for some ideas, but I really want you to take it and run with it. Now, if some of this seems a little bit over your head, don't worry, you definitely can build yourself into this. You might want to check out the Acoustic Blues Jumpstart from Blues Guitar Institute. There we build from the ground up and build you a solid foundation in the blues, full of quick wins, and I think you'll dig it. Just sign up at the link on your screen and I'll see you inside BGI. All right, I'll see you back here next Tuesday for another cool acoustic blues lesson. Until then, practice smart and play on.